Alejandro is a terrible song by Lady Gaga, but also Garnacho. Look, I'm not a Manchester United fan, but I am a football fan, and even I can feel myself wanting to spit out last night's chocolate muffin I stole from a dog. What Garnacho has just done this week is spit in the face of every single Manchester United supporter. I mean, to be fair, for a pampered prima donna millionaire like him, I'd imagine his spit probably tastes like soap. Hello, I am the Irish guy. And look, if you're a professional footballer, then wearing another team's football kit is actually unthinkable. I mean, this isn't like a random football fan pulling on a rival shirt for a stag do, with the groom also handcuffed to the Whalestone Raider, who definitely stinks of gin, milk, and 15 seconds of fame. No, if you're a football fan, knock yourself out. If you're a Manchester United fan, then I'm not gonna judge you. If for some strange reason you want to start every day munching Cocoa Pops wearing a Man City shirt with Nasri on the back, what you do in your own time is fine. Nobody cares. But professional footballers, you have been given a lavish, swanky lifestyle by the club. Your wages, which provide the millionaire mansion, the beautiful gardens and luxury holidays, are mostly funneled by the supporters who walk through the turnstiles. For some of the ugly footballers, they can thank those fans for buying them their wife. Sounds a bit wrong, actually. But seriously, if there were no fans in football, then I promise you, Garnacho, you'd be getting the bus to work. I mean, forget about holidaying on a yacht near the Maldives. Oh no. Your idea of a vacation would be the same as the rest of us, sitting in your garden with a blow-up swimming pool and asking your neighbor Kev to speak to you in a Spanish accent so you can feel like you're abroad. It's depressing, isn't it? But no, Garnacho is out here wearing the shirt of a football club who finished 9 places and 24 points above Manchester United in the league. And lads, I know what you're all going to say in the comments.
Oh, but the other players in the Man United squad have done this too. Why not pick on them?
Yep, it's true. Manuel Ugarte has just been pictured in a Flamengo shirt. Like, why? He's not even Brazilian. Yeah. What, does he secretly wish he was Jorginho? Amad Diallo was recently spotted playing with his mates in a Brighton shirt. Are we really at a stage now where we've got Manchester United stars wishing they were Brighton employees? It's mental. I never thought we'd be living in this sort of universe. It's like if I told you that in 5 years' time, you're gonna see Orlando Bloom asking his barber to give him the fogged-in haircut. And yeah, Patrick Dorgu was literally spotted training in a Roma shirt. Look, Brighton, Roma, Flamengo. It's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world. But Aston Villa are literally where Manchester United want to be, which is to be challenging for Champions League football. That's why they're trying to nick their goalie. Seriously, I know this club is built on the idea of winning trophies, but every single Manchester United fan I know would literally bite off their thumb to nick Villa's 6th spot next year. Seriously, these supporters of Manchester United would probably agree to rub marmalade in their hair and walk into a gang of pigeons to guarantee themselves a top 6 finish. But the icing on the cake is that this is not just an Aston Villa shirt. Nah, you can make your peace with that. Oh no. It's a Rashford shirt. This is Garnacho publicly mugging off our Marin by siding with the Manchester United outcast. The only reason that an Aston Villa shirt with Rashford on the back even exists is because of Marcus's poor work rate in training. I mean, seriously, do you think what? Amram stormed into the biggest job of his life and chose to single out a local lad for no reason at all? Just to be some mean Portuguese bully who wants to pick on somebody who literally feeds the poor? I mean, seriously, Rashford is someone who'll probably get a shout out in the sequel to Oliver Twist. No, the only reason this shirt exists is because Rashford chose to set a terrible example by slacking off in training. This football shirt is an insult to every single Manchester United fan out there. That one of their own, a local boy who is living out their dream, that every single one of the supporters would push their nan in front of a bus to get, he is failing to work hard and choosing to get drunk in Belfast instead. That is the only reason that an Aston Villa shirt with Rashford on the back even exists on this planet. And Garnacho is celebrating that by wearing it. Ew! It's not just an Aston Villa shirt. It's a Rashford shirt, the newest outcast at Manchester United. And lads, have you noticed that every manager at Manchester United has always chosen one? Under every single manager since Fergie left, there's always been one big name star who's been a problem child. Under David Moyes, he fell out with Nemanja Vidic. Louis van Gaal weirdly stopped liking Robin van Persie. And then it was the real brats. Jose Mourinho picked a public fight with Pogba. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, okay, yeah. He was just like that weak substitute teacher who's desperate to be liked by everyone. Honestly, I'm guessing somebody could have parked in his parking spot at Carrington, and he'd have been too scared to say anything. But yeah, then Ralph Rangnick turned his nose up at J-Links. Eric Ten Hag turned on Jadon Sancho, and Ruben Amorim has said he'd rather pick a 60-year-old goalkeeping coach on the bench than a Rashford who cannot be bothered to train. And you know what's really annoying now? Social media has given the modern-day Manchester United player an outlet, a sneaky outlet, for passive-aggressive shows of solidarity. The reason Sancho's career at Old Trafford ended was because of a 2-paragraph tweet where he was undermining Ten Hag. Oh, can you imagine if a Man United player tried to do that on Fergie's watch? Can you imagine if David Beckham had been allowed to tweet out that the manager had kicked a boot off his face? I genuinely think the fiery Scot would have responded by cutting the brakes of his car, or at the very least, he'd have linked Beckham's home address to some weird Spice Girl stalker. But that message was liked by Rashford. See? A public show of solidarity, siding with his outcast mate above his manager. I mean, when Roy Keane destroyed his Manchester United career after a bust-up from Fergie, was there a single player who jumped to his defense in the media? No, not a single one. They were too scared. But Instagram, it's allowed these Manchester United players to all stick together and actually support each other's bad behaviour. For example, the day that Mourinho was sacked, Pogba stuck this up on Instagram. It's passive-aggressive. Honestly, this would have been like when Roy Keane was kicked out of the club. And suddenly, 3 months later, Darren Fletcher spotted out of Manchester wearing a Celtic shirt with Keane on the back. Oh no, I promise you, Fergie would have bit off his face. Seriously, I'm not saying that when players fall out with managers, that their teammates should now forget them forever. No. I don't know. Gary Neville and David Beckham are still busy mates, but I don't remember any of those Manchester United winners getting papped out in Real Madrid merchandise. Again, no, because their Manchester United fan base would have wanted to throw cups of tea in their face. Speaking of Beckham though, he was also found to be guilty of this. Kind of, because whilst he was a model pro, Christ above he was the England captain, even he managed to passively aggressively have a swipe at Manchester United a few years after that. Because I'm sorry, I don't care how much he says he loves the club. This bloke was literally pictured in Arsenal uniform when he trained with them in January 2008, just 4.5 years after leaving Manchester United. That was not a long gap. I mean, when he was a Man United star, Arsenal were the big deadly rivals. But no, after quitting Real Madrid, he then becomes best mates with the Gunners, training with them most Christmases for a solid 5 years. He even tossed his kids into their academy. He's raised his children to be Arsenal fans. I mean, he's also raised them to probably have the work rate of slugs. I'm sorry, but how can he have 3 boys, all blessed, with his world-class sporting genetics, and none of them make it in the game? Ronaldo's son plays for Portugal. If Brooklyn Beckham had been adopted by a poor family in Wigan, he'd have grown up to be a Premier League player. But no, instead you've got the English version of Will Smith's kids. How are they able to eat cornflakes when they've already got the silver spoon lodged in their mouth? I remember when I was a kid, Carlos Tevez causing a storm in Brazil by appearing in a press conference wearing a Manchester United shirt. Oh no, he literally only just joined Corinthians months before. He's sitting in a press conference and literally said,
I'm thinking of leaving Corinthians.
whilst wearing the Manchester United shirt. You've seen how proud the Brazilian clubs are at the Club World Cup. That was a huge deal. Months later, he was weirdly joining West Ham, getting unveiled alongside the future boss of Inter Miami. Weird. But eventually he does become a Manchester United star, and even now, 20 years later, he's still scoring 4 at Old Trafford at Soccer Age after grilling some ginger kid on toast. Okay, relax. I know who Angry Judge is, but I would bet the world he's never heard of me. Look, Raheem Sterling riled up the Man City fans in 2020 when he, in the middle of huge transfer speculation linking him with Real Madrid. Honestly, it seems crazy now that he's watched a piglet who can't even sneeze out an assist, but yeah, back when his numbers were going wild at Man City, then yeah, Real Madrid were always sniffing around him. And I think if they hadn't just wasted £100 million at Eden Hazard, they would have absolutely tried to buy him. Anyway, he poses on the front cover of a Spanish newspaper wearing a Man City hoodie, sure, but with a Real Madrid kit draped over his shoulder, as if he's getting ready to put it on. Not a good look, Raheem, at all, especially considering this was just a week after Man City were given a 2-year Champions League ban by UEFA. So yeah, the transfer speculation about all their players was rife. A few years ago, Wesley Fofana was at Leicester City. He had to issue a groveling apology on social media after being pictured in an Arsenal shirt, but he said he had been tricked by some former friends. So he really dumped his mates because they put this online? Yeah, he said he was playing 5-a-side and had no idea in the world this would end up on the internet.
I feel sorry for our fans and angry against the guys that have seized the opportunity to make this bad buzz. Sorry for all Arsenal fans, I've strictly no problem with the red, but only the blue is in my heart.
Well, he's right about that because his next club was Chelsea. Clearly, he's a big fan of blue. Maybe he also has dodgy dreams about the Smurfs. What? Nothing weird. I just had a nightmare that the Papa Smurf was eating my eyeballs for lunch. But anyway, that was Fofana being angry and embarrassed that got out. But Garnacho, he's chosen to publish this himself. Wearing the shirt of a rival club is a big deal. As for Rashford though, He really is in a weird spot right now. Because yes, he's in limbo. After an okay loan spell at Aston Villa, and lads, I promise you, it was only okay. Don't be fooled. The media were desperate for him to rip it up at Villa Park so that they could pit him against the club even more. They so badly wanted Rashford to be unbelievably good at Villa so that they could write headlines about how Manchester United had messed up again. They would now heap pressure on Amorim by basically saying, how could a team 15th in the league decide they no longer need this England international superstar? So honestly, the media were gassing about everything he did in the Villa shirt to such a high extreme. But don't get it twisted. 4 goals. Half of them were against Preston. I scored against Preston. So let's calm down a little bit. Rashford was alright. But honestly, not a single person will ever remember his Aston Villa loan spell in 10 years' time. It's like if I were to ask you, name me a highlight from Kyle Walker's loan at Aston Villa. When was he at Aston Villa? But still, despite that absolutely lukewarm loan, he's still chatting about wanting to get a Barcelona move. Does he think it's 2019? Speaking about how he wants to play with Lamine Yamal. Yamal don't know you, little bro. It seems absolutely crazy. There is no space for Rashford and Hansi Flick's squad. Not even a little bit. Because between them, Rafinha and Yamal scored 52 goals and registered 50 assists last season. And now they're bringing in Yamal's Spanish buddy Nico Williams from Bilbao. You know, the European champion. So what use would they have for a 28-year-old Rashford? Would he just be there to help water the plants in Flick's office? Would he be signed up to solely whip up the scrambled egg at the canteen? Does he really think the Barcelona manager wants him? Marcus, the only way you're ever getting a hug off Flick is if you go to a Bugs Life Comic Con. Honestly, there's no room for him. He would be Barcelona's modern day Alexander Hleb. And after his dream move to Barcelona went wrong, he wound up at Birmingham. You really want to go back to Birmingham, Marcus? I honestly think that Rashford starts next season in the Manchester United reserves before finally getting a messy deadline day loan switch to a West Ham where he gets to play under Potter for a year. Barcelona? Absolutely not. Now, if you'd excuse me, it's banana time. This one's just been sitting out for a week. I think I bit off a bit of the skin. Oh, I definitely did. Oh, I swallowed it. Oh dear. Anyway, that's the end. Let me know. Am I going too hard on this Garnacho thing? I just think that him wearing a Rashford shirt, it's just absolute insult to every Man United. But let me know. Let me know. I might be wrong. I am been prone to being wrong in the past. Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and I'll talk to you in a while.